Alright, let's just jump into this. No Meanie Mayhem intro, no Monster Vox. By the way, I'm Monster Vox. We're just going to have a chat. 4 episodes. It took 4 episodes into the final season of Star for the fandom to declare a new worst episode. Lake House Fever has to be one of the most hated 11 minutes of animation I've ever seen in my life, and personally, I liked the episode. I was very much entertained, surprised, and satisfied by everything in this episode. And I walked away from it wanting to see what would happen next between these characters. But a significant amount of Star's fans on the internet don't agree with that notion. I've heard people call this the worst episode. I've heard people call the dialogue in this episode garbage. I heard people call the premise garbage. I've heard people come at Star. I've heard people come at Tom. I heard people come at Tom's mother. It's definitely a lot. And I just want to make one thing clear before we dive into this discussion. If you do dislike this episode, you are completely valid in your opinion. Just because I have a different opinion and that I'm going to share my own perspective doesn't mean that anyone else's is discounted. We just had different takeaways from the episode. That being said though, while it's not entirely driven by shipping, from what I've seen, it definitely feels like shipping has been a strong influence in this episode's reception, because the main complaint I've seen is that Tom and Star should have broken up by the end of this episode. Here's my question. Why? Would that really have been realistic, and would that have been the best outcome for these characters? Because think about it. Tom's reaction to learning Star and Marco kissed was a pretty surprising and understanding one. He learned it in the heat of battle, and he could have easily ran away, and at first we thought he did, but instead he still had Marco's back. And afterwards, when he learned more of the situation, he simply talked to his mom about it, because he still felt frustrated towards the situation, but he wanted Star to tell him. Tom understood the situation, and from everything he knows, he does not have any reason to believe that him and Star are over. His perception of things is that Star is going through a rough time right now with everything in the kingdom. She was trapped in a photo booth with Marco, and they thought the only way to get out of it would be to kiss. It was a complex situation. Not to mention the way everyone presents it. Marco kissed Star. Star didn't kiss Marco. So again, why would Tom see anything wrong? The only thing wrong he saw was that Star did not address any of this to him. But in the episode itself, he was understanding as to why she didn't want to talk about it. So from Tom's end, there's no need to break up. Now let's look at Star's end. Can we rewind to like a third ways into season 3? Alright, yeah, we're right there. When Marco comes back to Muni, Star gave this man the cold shoulder. He just showed up once Star finally got with Tom. It was awkward. It was definitely uneasy for Star, but again, look at her perspective. She told her best friend she has feelings for him and then ran off to Muni, and he followed her there. And then neither of them brought back exchange until booth buddies. Star moves on with her life. She gives Tom a second chance as he's trying to get better. And then Marco comes back. I think Star buries a lot of her own feelings from herself. And I think she definitely missed Marco when he returned to Earth. And while I do think her feelings for Tom are genuine, we all saw club snubbed. She told Tom she doesn't need a boyfriend right now. She just needs a friend. But ultimately, it felt as if she was the one who initiated her and Tom's second relationship. And I think that's because subconsciously, she wanted to bury that feeling of missing Marco. She did genuinely want to give Tom a second chance, but it definitely benefited Star that that second chance just so happened to fill a void. So when Marco shows up, she's not gonna just break up with Tom and get with Marco. I think the reasonable conclusion she came to, without acknowledging those feelings for Marco, was, alright, Marco be my squire, but I'm not breaking up with Tom. I'm not going to give up on Tom yet. Which I feel like is a reasonable thing. Not everyone's experiences are universal, but I've seen plenty of friends who has had feelings for another person, especially a close friend of theirs. For one reason or another, they don't end up with that friend. They end up dating someone else, and that friend they have feelings for doesn't really go anywhere. They're still around in their lives. And yes, sometimes the situation has resulted in a breakup, and then potentially that friend begins to date their other friend they had feelings for. But that's only because the relationship they were in prior ran its course. Can we please keep that in mind? Relationships running their course and coming to a natural end because things are no longer working out. Are Star and Tom in that situation at the moment? No! We're finally beginning to see a lot of cracks in their relationship, such as Tom's concern for not being in the beach day photo, and Star treating him like he's just stupid in the season premiere, not to mention Star calling adult Marco hot in Ransomgram, but we saw how Star herself rationalized everything. She told Tom and Lake House Fever, teenagers are stupid, they break up all the time. Now we as an audience are supposed to recognize that Star is in the wrong. She started to get angry over Tom telling his mother about booth buddies, which is kind of understandable. If I was involved in a pretty crappy thing, I wouldn't want anyone else to know. However, we know she's also in the wrong because she didn't tell Tom. What was he supposed to do? You see that right there? I just got frustrated at Star because you're supposed to be frustrated at Star. And we as an audience, I think we're supposed to see that Star and Tom's relationship is not perfect. But that doesn't mean those characters see it. You guys know the BoJack Horseman quote. When you're looking through rose-tinted glasses, red flags just look like flags. That rings especially true for Tom, but by the same merits, he does trust Star and he does trust Marco. So Star in a hurry running over to the Diaz's, yeah, that may be a red flag for the audience. Like, oh, she's still putting Marco over Tom without even telling him ahead of time. But from Tom's perspective, he just saw, yeah, she committed to this, but her and Marco hang out all the time. She doesn't really see my family like this, so I'm gonna try to get her to stay and just have some more fun. Which again, I feel like can be a common thing in relationships. One significant other makes plans with their friends that causes them to leave an event early, to which the other significant other is like, well, wait, you should stay because you don't really get to see my family like this or my friends like this. But that's now grounds for a breakup. If Tom broke up with Star over booth buddies, that would mean he's not understanding that they were in a very uncomfortable situation and Marco did what he thought he had to do to get them out of there. And of course, Star may not want to talk about that because she doesn't want to hurt Tom. Tom gets that. And for Star, why would she want to break up with Tom? It's obvious Star's a bad girlfriend to us, but obviously the bad girlfriend herself is not going to see that she's a bad girlfriend. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people wanted Star and Tom to break up. So A, either Starco could happen, or B, Tom could find someone better. But really, while I do think Tom does need to find someone better after this relationship runs its course, would Starco really be any better? Like think about this first. I know that is the hottest take of the century, but hear me out. With all of Star's actions, with the place she's in right now, the fact that she can't recognize what she's doing to Tom, do you really think she should be with Marco? I think the relationship would be worse. The most she fawns over Marco is when he's an adult with abs. Obviously, any feeling she does have is genuine, but when the most gawking she's ever done over Marco is over superficial features, I think that says something about where she's at. But by the same merits, I get it's supposed to be a joke, but it's also in the context of the show, so, yeah. I feel like Lake House Fever was a natural step in Star and Tom's relationship, regardless if that means they're gonna flourish or if it's going to reach its end. They talked about booth buddies. Kinda. They communicated, which is what all relationships need, regardless if they're gonna break up or stay together. For people saying Tom's being pathetic, what? He's just being understanding. And for Star as a whole, I'm not going to lie. I kinda wanna say her character has kind of regressed, but at the same time, her character regressed in the episode it began to progress, conquer. That moment when she accepted, these are my people, and I am their queen. And by the end of the episode, she hands over the kingdom to Eclipsa. She immediately owns and relinquishes that responsibility. We even see this in Moon Remembers, trying to avoid telling Moon about Globgore, afraid of Moon's reaction for no real reason. So she's not just hiding stuff from Tom, she's not just hiding stuff for the sake of relationship drama. This is a common trait in Star's character that's affecting her all around, that's been affecting her since the show began. Remember when Marco essentially had to force her hand into telling Moon and River that the Book of Spells was stolen? Star is not emotionally mature enough to handle any relationship right now. She shouldn't be with Tom, she shouldn't be with Marco, she shouldn't be with Ponyhead, she shouldn't be with Jackie, she shouldn't be with Brunzetta. I mean, there's like an age gap there. She needs to figure herself out because it affects all aspects of her life, as we've seen throughout the show. Star's characterization and behavior here is nothing new. It's not only relationship drama peaks its head, so to call this the worst episode because of how she behaves, well, what about Moon Remembers? Or any other episode where Star put off responsibility, where she hid something from people. She hid her feelings towards Marco for quite a bit. And not to mention, Star never handles anything well. beyond Lake House Fever and Moon Remembers, running away from Song Day, putting Marco on the spot about her feelings and then dipping from Earth with the intentions of never seeing Marco again, leaving the kingdom in peril to try to revive Marco, and again, when she finally is in the position to make things right, she hands the kingdom over to Eclipsa after finally embracing herself as queen. I get she was emotionally charged, I get it was in the heat of the moment, but even Eclipsa herself was surprised that Star gave her the wand. Overall, I'm personally just not surprised. So maybe that's why I enjoyed this episode more, because I feel as if everyone reacted the way I expected them to. But for Tom and Star to just split up right here, right now, it feels like it's gonna take a little bit more than that. And we know in 4 episodes anyway, we're gonna have Curse of the Blood Moon, something that's going to directly address Star and Marco, Star and Tom. So let's just see how things pan out, because their breakup may be a bit more warranted and satisfying when it does happen than it would have if they broke up in Lake House Fever. But as always, these are just my thoughts and I want to hear yours. Drop them in the comments below or tweet your thoughts to me at @Fox or at Roundtable Vids. We're also on Instagram. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching and I hope you have an awesome day. @Fox out.